Dave Ping 243. Hello guys, this is me, Dave Ping 243, and welcome back to Plants vs. Zombies. We're here for the bonus episode, ladies and gentlemen, so expect for this to be like an hour long. Yeah, it's gonna be long. And we're not even going to get to the Almanac first things first, because I have to get a couple of things out of the way, so... The last two things I need to mention here. Right? Going back into, survival, obviously not doing endless, but, there is an exclusive zombie type, that you can only find within Survival Endless at some point. Which, Survival Endless is always going to be in the pool, so yeah, so anyway, I alluded to this before, but the exclusive zombie type you will only find here. If you thought that the Giga Football Zombie was scary, think again. The Giga Gargantuar is scary. This dude, basically, he has, like, 25 more hits, 25 more normal hits of hit points of health, let's just say, than a normal Gargantuar. So, it has 0.5 more HP than your typical Gargantuar, which is scary, because that means it takes even more of a beating and still lives than a normal Gargantuar. It takes 75 normal hits for this guy to go down. Yeah, the Giga Gargantuar is scary. Yeah, just look at it. Look at its eyes. Jesus, like, you can tell how scary it is, right? And rightfully so. But thankfully, you only find it in Survival Endless, like I said before, so unless you plan on doing that, then you shouldn't ever have to worry about it. Going back into, the main menu here, I'm going to go into the shop and buy the gold magnet. Basically, if you go back to minigames and go in the last stand... Well, actually, I also need to buy the Gloom Shroom because it's also very important in this. Basically, we have everything that we need to do this money setup nonsense, so what you're gonna need to have is this. So yeah, remember when I said that there was like some sort of money setup involving this game? Well, people do it with this last stand minigame and have the gold magnets and the marigolds ready, because this is how you're going to do the money setup. You only need Coffee Bean for your Gloom Shrooms. So, because gold magnets aren't considered to be mushrooms, so they actually do work during the day. So you just slap on a sleeping magnet shroom and then place a gold magnet on top of it, and it'll work as usual. And then, well, the Gloom Shrooms will do the heavy lifting with taking care of the zombies. And I think it's better if I just show you. It takes a while to plant everything down, but, you know, it's well worth it. If you want all the money, that is. Money's not especially hard to come by in this game, so this setup isn't exactly necessary, but it is nice for when you want to have a lot of cash. Especially if you want the 10-seat slot upgrade. So see, I don't have to use the coffee bean on the magnet shrooms if I want to use the gold magnet, so that saves up some sun. And in this case, we only need 2. Any more and that'll be overkill. And basically, you want tolerance over here. And it's time to start raking in the money. So yeah, people call this the rich setup. And it's called that for a good reason. You get a lot of money out of this. Even if marigolds can't produce diamonds. If they were able to produce diamonds, then this setup would be invaluable. But because they don't, this setup is only quite good. Oh boy, that's kind of concerning. But yeah, here you can actually... Oh boy. Yeah, I think everything just falls apart, but you know what, that's fine. I wasn't planning on sticking around for Last Stand anyway. Yeah. But you see how effective this can be, but given the right, configuration. I probably didn't do it the right way, because I had trouble remembering how it looked exactly, but this is a rough idea of what the rich setup is supposed to be. So... I'll cut away to the Almanac because we're done with all the we're done with both of the miscellaneous stuff I wanted to get out of the way, so I'll cut away to the Almanac where we'll start I'll start explaining the system rating that I'll go by with rating the plants and how good they are, and I'll get into the actual rating of the plants. Alrighty guys, now I'm here on the Suburban Almanac, and I'm going to be rating these plants. So, going over the rating scale for how I'm going to be judging these plants. We're going to go from numbers 1 to 6. The higher the number, the better the plant is. So, starting off at 1, we have useless and or bad. This means that the plant is either completely useless or it's really bad at its job. So yeah, self-explanatory on that front. Yeah, there's no other way to put it. Like it should be simple to understand, like, the reasoning behind why a plant is either useless or bad. 2 is mediocre. This means that the plant is not very good overall. It still doesn't do its job very well, and it tends to be not so desirable because of it. 3, we have meh. Meh is meh. Like, you should understand what meh is. Now, up in the middle of the scale is 3.5. Now, normally I don't put 0.5s in my scale ratings when it comes to judging things. However, I soon realized that a lot of the plants that I'm going to be judging here today fall under this category. At least several plants. So, 3.5 is good, which means the plant is often successful enough at performing its job. So, it does an adequate enough job at doing its, well, job. 4 is great. This is like the good rating, but the plant has a more frequent rate of success. So it's like good, but on a higher scale. 5 is amazing. This means that the plant is excellent at consistently performing its job, and it is super useful. That should be self-explanatory, yet again. And then, 6 is broken. This means that the plant is busted in one way or another, or maybe in every single case. And yeah, that's also self-explanatory, so that's the rating scale I'm going to go by for this. So it is different from Multi-Classic Gamer's rating scale. I had to differentiate myself somehow. But yeah, we're going to go in order from day plants all the way to the upgrade plants. From top left to bottom right. And then you're probably wondering where the imitator is. Well, it's actually right here. This is where the imitator is at. So we're going to be saving for imitator last. This makes up a total of 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, and 49. So 49 plants in total in the entire game. So yes, I'm going to be judging all 49 of them. Be prepared to sit for like an hour or so on this. So with a quick drink of water, I will begin the judging. Anyway, let's start off with the pea shooter. So I'm going to read the description of said plant first, with its information and, you know, stats. And then I'm going to go over how good it is in terms of my rating system. So, pea shooters first. Pea shooters are your first line of defense. They shoot peas at attacking zombies. Damage, normal. How can a single plant grow and shoot so many peas so quickly? Well, pea shooter says, hard work, commitment, and a healthy, well-balanced breakfast of sunlight and high-fiber carbon dioxide make it all possible. Costs 100 sun and recharges fast. Alright, so there's quite a few things to consider when it comes to pea shooter. It is the very first plant that you get in the entire game, so I can't judge it too harshly because of that. even though it becomes irrelevant later on in the game when you have better things. For the time that pea shooter is actually useful, it excels at doing its job. So overall, with a fair sun cost and a fast recharge time, I'm going to give the pea shooter a 3.5 on the rating scale, so it is good. Next up, we have sunflower. Sunflowers are essential for you to produce extra sun. Try planting as many as you can. Sun production normal. Sunflower can't resist bouncing to the beat. Which beat is that? Why, the life-giving jazzy rhythm of the earth itself, thumping at a frequency only sunflower can hear. Costs 50 sun, and recharges fast. Alright, so considering that sunflower is essential and it's cheap, it recharges fast, it's a sun producer, I am going to give it a 5 right off the gate. It's that damn good. It's consistently useful, and you only don't need to use it when conveyor belt levels are a thing, so if you're doing any sort of daytime level where sun is required, then sunflower is a must. And yeah, giving it a 5 is perfectly reasonable given its usefulness. Cherry Bomb. Cherry bombs can blow up all zombies in an area. They have a short fuse, so plant them near zombies. Damage massive. Range all zombies in the medium area, which is a 3x3 radius. Usage single use, instant. I want to explode, says Cherry number 1. No, let's detonate instead, says his brother. After an intense consultation, the two agree to explodinate, and that's where the explodinate achievement comes in. By the way, costs 150 sun, and recharge is very slow. Cherry Bomb has been a bit more useful than I thought it would be. Originally, I was going to give it a 3.5, but considering that it has been a little bit more useful than I thought it would be, which I already thought it was quite useful in certain situations, through much going back and forth between 3.5 and 4, I am going to give Cherry Bomb a 4. It's been not exactly amazing, but it did do its job better than I expected it to. So yeah, Cherry Bomb, you did your job quite nicely. Walnut. Walnuts have hard shells which you can use to protect yourself by protecting your other plants. Toughness high. People wonder how I feel about getting constantly chewed on by zombies, says Walnut. What they don't realize is that with my limited senses, all I can feel is a kind of tingling, like a relaxing back rub. Costs 50 sun and recharge slow. In the early game, I'm going to give Walnut a 4, but after you get the Tall Nut, I'm going to give the Walnut a 2. A 2 after you get Tall Nut, and here's why. Because although it is excellent in the first couple of worlds, once you get Tall Nut almost outclasses Walnut in every way. The only times where Walnut isn't outclassed by its bigger brethren is when you actually do Zombotany and maybe Bobsled Bonanza, because of how cheap it is. So that's why I'm going to give Walnut at its best a 4, but at its worst a 2. It's not useless when you eventually do get the Tall Nut, because it does have uses. It's just that they are very limited once you do get the Tall Nut. But nevertheless, Walnut is a, well, nifty plant. Potato Mine. Potato mines pack a powerful punch, but they need a while to arm themselves. You should plant them ahead of zombies. They will explode on contact. Massive damage. Alright. Range all zombies in a small area, which is very tiny. Basically the very tile that Potato Mine is in. Usage, single use, delayed activation. Some folks say Potato Mine is lazy, that he leaves everything to the last minute. Potato Mine says nothing. He's too busy thinking about his investment strategy. Costs 25 sun, and recharge is slow. Immediately I'm going to give the Potato Mine a 5 for amazing. I cannot tell you guys how amazing of a plant Potato Mine is. In fact, I would almost go to say that this thing is broken, but because of that delayed activation, Potato Mine is just shy of being broken. If it didn't have that delayed reaction, it would just be busted. And it's very, very cheap. And also there is another small downside where you can't put this thing on any sort of lily pads. It has to be planted in soil. So those two issues make Potato Mine only a 5, but still, 5 is very respectable. And yeah, you should definitely not underestimate Potato Mine. It is a very incredible plant, where it allows you to get your sun going in the early game of each level. So yeah, one of my favorite plants in the game when it comes to setup. Moving on, we have Snow Pea. Snow Peas shoot frozen peas that damage and slow the enemy. Damage normal, slow zombies. Folks often tell Snow Pea how cool he is, or exhort him to chill out. They tell him to stay frosty. Snow Pea just rolls his eyes. He's heard them all. Ah man, the cold puns. Costs 175 sun, and recharges fast. If Snow Pea was 150 sun, rather than 175, I would have given it a 5. But because because of its sun cost being 175 rather than 150, this one's rating is going to have to be bumped down to 3.5. If it was just 150, dude, it would have gotten the 4. But it was so close to becoming a great plant, but it's just only good. It was so close to becoming just great. Either way though, let's move on to the Chomper. Chompers can devour a zombie whole, but they are vulnerable whilst chewing. Damage massive. Range very short. Basically up to 2 tiles in front of the Chomper. Special, long delay between chomps. I've heard it's about 42 seconds for a Chomper to completely devour a zombie and swallow it. So, make it as you will. Chomper almost got a gig doing stunts for the Little Shop of Horrors, but it fell through when his agent demanded too much on the front end. Chomper's not resentful though, he says it's just part of the business. Costs 150 sun, and recharges fast. Okay, I'm going to give the Chomper a 3 for meh. Basically the only time I actually used this thing in the entire Let's Play was level 5-5. And yeah, it's like that's because I had to use it, and weirdly enough I didn't encounter a single Chomper to be used for level 1-10, which was strange. But yeah, that level 5-5 was the only time where I actually used the Chomper in this Let's Play. The Chomper has a few neat applications to it, like it can swallow an entire catapult zombie and like an entire zomboni. So it's got that going for it. But besides that, it only kills one zombie at a time. And it takes 42 seconds, which is a long ass time for Plants vs. Zombies standards, to be able to devour on another zombie. And the 150 sun is a bit pricey in my opinion for something that kills things in this fashion. So because of all that, taking all that into consideration, Chomper is a 3 for meh. Next up we have Repeater. Repeaters fire 2 Ps at a time. Damage normal for each P. Firing speed 2 times. Repeater's fierce. He's from the streets. He doesn't take attitude from anybody, plant or zombie, and he shoots Ps to keep people at a distance. Secretly though, Repeater yearns for love. You know what, buddy? I'm like that as well. Anyway, costs 200 sun and recharges fast. Alrighty, I'm going to give the Repeater a 5. I was going to say 4, but nah, Repeater's too good to be a 4. Yeah, Repeater has been very useful within the times I actually did use it. Like, it wasn't like the few times, like, I actually got to use this thing quite a bit. And Repeater did actually help me win Last Stand, so yeah, that was a big accomplishment for it, and that's another reason why I'm putting Repeater up as an amazing plant, aka putting it up as a 5. It's just a really good plant, and yes, the 200 sun cost may seem to be a bit of a downside at first, but it's put on there for a damn good reason, because if this thing was any cheaper, like maybe like 150 sun, like, Repeater might have been broken, dude. Alrighty, Puff Shroom. Puff Shrooms are cheap, but can only fire a short distance. Damage normal, range short. Sleeps during the day. A trend with all mushrooms. I've only recently became aware of the existence of zombies, says Puff Shroom. Like many fungi, I just assumed they were fairy tales or movie monsters. This whole experience has been a huge eye-opener for me. Costs 0 sun and recharges fast. These things are basically essential for starting off nighttime stages as well as fog stages. However, they're limited use during the day, like having to just use a coffee bean in order to wake up the Puff Shroom just to be able to do something. Yeah, only use these things during nighttime, aka the night stages and the fog stages. With that being taken into consideration, even though this is technically a free plant, and that it does its job really well, I cannot give it a 5. Therefore, it's getting a 4. 4, it's still great, it's just that it really can only be used during the night and fog stages, unless if you want to suffer by doing the mushrooms during the day achievement, which is a pain in the ass. So yeah, that's why I'm giving this thing a 4 for great. Sunshroom. Sunshrooms give small sun at first and normal sun later. Sun production low, then normal. Sleeps during the day. Sunshroom hates sun. He hates it so much that when he builds it up in the system, he spits it out as fast as he can. He just can't abide by it. To him, sun is crass. Costs 25 sun and recharges fast. Alrighty, this is getting a 4. Not only is this just like a poor man's sunflower, but it doesn't give you as much sun until a certain point when it actually does grow bigger. As I said before, it's an investment thing and you have to create time for the sunshroom to be able to pay you back. So it's obviously not as good as the sunflower, even though it's cheaper. So that's why I'm giving it a 4 for great. Fume Shroom. Fume Shrooms shoot fumes that can pass through screen doors. Damage, normal, penetrates screen doors. Range, all zombies in the fume cloud. Sleeps during the day. I was in a dead-end job producing yeast spores for a bakery, says Fume Shroom. Then Puff Shroom, bless him, told me about this great opportunity blasting zombies. Now I really feel like I'm making a difference. Costs 75 sun and recharges fast. Alrighty, I'm giving the Fume Shroom a 3.5 for good. Now, this thing could have been better if it was just like the pea shooters in terms of long-range capabilities, but no, this isn't exactly like a pea shooter when it comes to range. If it was, then I would give it a 4, but because of its long-ranged attack, but not really sort of thing, it's getting a 3.5. But I do quite like this thing, so yeah, 3.5 I think is a good rating for it. Gravebuster. Plant gravebusters on graves to remove the graves. Usage, single use. Must be planted on graves. Special, removes graves. Despite Gravebuster's fearsome appearance, he wants everyone to know that he loves kids and spends off his hours volunteering at a local zombie rehabilitation center. It's just the right thing to do, he says. Costs 75 sun, and recharges fast. Alright, I'm giving the Gravebuster a... I'm kind of debating on this rating even still. You know what, I'll be generous and give it a 5. I just hate graves that much, and being able to remove those bastards is a great boon of itself. Yeah, Gravebuster, you prove yourself to be useful. Alright, Hypno Shroom. When eaten, Hypno Shrooms will make a zombie turn around and fight for you. Usage, single use. On contact. Special, makes the zombie fight for you. Sleeps during the day. Which I must make a bit of a note here. If you just place down a Hypno Shroom during the day and you don't wake it up, it doesn't do its job. So, keep that in mind. Anyway, the zombies are our friends, asserts Hypno Shroom. They're badly misunderstood creatures who play a valuable role in our ecology. We can and should do more to bring them round to our way of thinking. Costs 75 sun and recharges slow. Alrighty, I'm giving the Hypno Shroom a 4. It could be higher, but honestly, the limited use, just being only able to use this during the night in fog levels, unless if you use the coffee bean, makes the Hypno Shroom more niche than it actually seems at first. So yeah, because of that, it gets a 4, but otherwise I could have given it a 5, because it's very good at getting rid of those stupid football players that are constantly ruining your day. Anyway, Scaredy Shroom. Scaredy Shrooms are long-range shooters that hide when enemies get near them. Oh, you know what? I think I just stopped with a joke in my mind. You know how the Scaredy Shroom is, well, a coward? Well, why don't we replace Scaredy with Shaggy? That's it, the Shaggy Shroom. Like, oh my god, dude, I'm gonna have a blast with the quotes here. So, damage is normal. Special, stops shooting when enemies are close. Sleeps during the day. Who's there, man? I probably butchered the Shaggy voice, but you know what? I can't do it for shit, so I'm still going to go with the joke. Whispers Shaggy Shroom, voice barely audible. Go away, man. I don't want to see anybody unless it's the man from the circus. And maybe my pal Scooby-Doo. Costs 25 sun and recharges fast. Alright, so it's really cheap. It's basically a pea shooter, so those there are massive pluses. But for one thing, the limited use, just like I keep saying with all mushrooms, is a big problem. Additionally, when this thing is awake and zombies are close to it, it cowers and stops shooting. So, if you're going to use them, put them in the very back of the lawn and where they'll be most effective. So taking that into consideration, I'm giving this thing a 3.5 rather than a 4. Yeah, I know that being scared is its whole shtick, but it's really a big problem when zombies do approach it. And it's what bogs down the plant's rating for me. But other than that, it is quite good. Ice Shroom. Ice Shrooms temporarily immobilize all zombies on screen. Damage very light. Yes, it actually does damage. And immobilizes zombies, so yeah, that. Range all zombies on screen. Usage, single use, instant. Sleeps during the day. Ice Shroom frowns, not because he's unhappy or because he disapproves, but because of a childhood injury that left his facial nerves paralyzed. Well, that's gotta be a terrible fate. Costs 75 sun, and recharges very slow. Now, the Ice Shroom has been a bit more useful than I thought it would be outside of the encounters with Zomboss. Like, I did use it at one time in Whack-A-Zombie in the minigame section. And I did use it, like, once, maybe twice in the survival stuff, so... with taking a slight bit into consideration, it turns Ice Shroom's rating from being meh to good. But a light good. So, 3.5 but just barely. It has been slightly more useful than I gave it credit for originally. And yeah, I think it has proven itself a little bit. So yeah. Doom Shroom. Doom Shrooms destroy everything in a large area and leave a crater that can't be planted on. Damage massive, range all zombies in a huge area. Usage single use, instant. Special leaves behind the crater. Sleeps during the day. You're lucky I'm on your side, says Doom Shroom. I could destroy everything you hold dear. It wouldn't be very hard. Costs 125 sun and recharges very slow. Alrighty, so Doom Shroom, it's very powerful, but combined with the fact that it leaves behind a crater and it can only really be used in like night and fog, that does bring down the viability of Doom Shroom, so with that taken into consideration, it gets a 3 for meh. It's not bad at its job, and when it does go off, it is pretty significant, but because of its limited usage that you'll probably find in it, like, it's not exactly too optimal as an emergency item plant. But when you really want things to go boom, Doom Shroom is your guy. Alrighty, Lily Pad. Lily Pads let you plant non-aquatic plants on top of them. Special non-aquatic plants can be planted on top of it. Must be planted in water. The lily pad never complains. Lily pad never wants to know what's going on. Putting a plant on top of lily pad, he won't say a single thing. Does he have startling opinions or shocking secrets? Nobody knows. Lily pad keeps it all inside. Costs 25 sun and recharges fast. These things are essential for the pool and fog levels, so that in itself is already a testament to how useful this thing is. But yeah, obvious 5. If you didn't see this coming, then honestly, what are you doing with your life? Wise up. Squash. Squash will smash the first zombie that gets close to it. Damage massive. Range? Short range, hits all zombies that it lands on. Single use. I'm ready! Squash yells. Let's do it, put me in. There's nobody better. I'm your guy, come on, what are you waiting for? I need this. Costs 50 sun and recharges slowly. Alright, so Squash is considered to be one of the best emergency item plants in the entire game, and yeah, there's really no contest to it. It does have a few problems when it comes to hitting budgie zombies that are behind it and such, and it does sometimes squashes the wrong zombies, and you might get boned because of this. But most of the time, this thing's really good for taking out Gargantuars, Zombonis, and the like. It's cheap, it doesn't recharge too slowly, Squash is overall very solid at its job, so with that taken into consideration, I will give it a 4 for great. And yeah, I think people will agree with that choice. 3-peater. 3-peaters shoot peas in 3 lanes. Damage normal for each pea. Range 3 lanes. 3-peater likes reading, backgammon, and long periods of immobility in the park. 3-peater enjoys going to shows, particularly modern jazz. I'm just looking for that special someone. he says. 3Peter's favorite number is 5. What, were you expecting some other number? Pshaw. Costs 325 sun and recharges fast. Alrighty, so 3Peter is a bit of a tricky one to rate. I wanted to like this thing. This is actually one of Multi-Classic Gamer's favorite plants in the entire game. And I won't hate his decision to make 3Peter of his highest rating on his scale. I could understand why he likes 3Peter so much. Personally though, in my opinion, 3Peter is a little bit too expensive. If it was like $275, maybe I could say that it's quite good. But as it stands, it's just, I'm really debating on whether I should put it in meh or be generous and give it a good rating. I really don't want the fans of Multi-Classic Gamer's LP of the game to be pissed off at me. But you know what, I think I'm just going to have to give it a 3 because honestly, it's always been like just barely out of my reach in terms of sun cost. It's just a little bit too expensive, and unless if you have a bunch of them all together in like middle lanes, this thing isn't really particularly that effective. So in that case, the 3Peter is just kinda eh. At least for me. I know there are people who absolutely adore this plant outside of Multi-Classic Gamer, and I can see why. It's just that, to me, it just seems to be a bit too expensive for my liking, and it doesn't really do enough to justify the cost. Even with Torchwood, which we're going to be coming up soon with. Anyway, Tangle Kelp. Tangle Kelps are aquatic plants that pull the first zombie that nears them underwater. Damage massive, single use on contact, must be planted in water. I'm totally invisible, Tangle Kelp thinks to himself. I'll just hide here below the surface and nobody will see me. His friends tell him that they could see him perfectly well, but he'll never change. Costs 25 sun and recharges slow, so for an emergency item plant, it's really not that good. It's only good at picking off Dolphin Rider zombies and Snorkeling zombies, so basically I would use the Squash in almost every single other instance. The Squash is just a lot more useful than this thing, so guys, I'm sorry, but this is going to be the first legitimate 2. Walnut doesn't really count because it started off as a 4 when it came to the early game with the first couple of worlds. Here though, this is just a flat 2, in my opinion. Tangle Kelp is underwhelming and it only pulls in one zombie to kill them, so not particularly great. It is very cheap, but honestly, the Squash is also quite cheap and it's a lot more useful in many different situations, so Tangle Kelp, with a combination of it just being niche and there being another plant that basically performs its job better, I just have to give Tangle Kelp a 2. Like, logically that makes sense. You're free to disagree with me. Just saying that I am not a particular fan of Tangle Kelp. Alright, Jalapeno, or Jalapenis as a lot of us like to call it. Jalapenos destroy an entire lane of zombies. Damage, massive. Range, all zombies in the lane. Usage, single use. Instant. Jalapeno says. He's not going to explode, not this time, but soon. Oh, so soon. It's close. He knows it. He could feel it. His whole life's been leading up to this very moment. Costs 125 sun, and recharges very slow. Okay, Jalapenos has saved my ass more times than I could care to count. I'm giving it a 5. Seriously, it's that good. It's slightly less expensive than a Cherry Bomb. I found myself to be destroying an entire lane of zombies to be more useful. And also, Jalapenos just has a very good use in the final boss fight against Zomboss, so yeah, all that taken into consideration, Jalapenos has proven itself time and time again to be useful, and it's not just a meme, guys. Jalapenos is actually good. Really good. Spikeweed. Spikeweeds pop tires and hurt any zombies that step on them. Damage, normal. Range, all zombies that walk over it. Special, can't be eaten by zombies. Hockey's Spikeweed's obsession. He's got box season tickets. He keeps track of his favorite players, and consistently cleans up in the office hockey pool. Just one problem, he's terrified of pucks. Wow, how ironic, am I right? Costs 100 sun and recharges fast. Alrighty, I'm giving the spikeweed a 3 from Meh, even though it does have some good uses. Because once a Calibur zombie or a Zomboni drives over spikeweed, it's just gone. So that's particularly why I just cannot give it a 3.5. It's because of that, even though it has some cool applications. It's not mediocre, hell no it isn't, it's just kinda eh. Alrighty, now Torchwood. Torchwood's turn peas that pass through them into fireballs that deal twice as much damage. The special doubles the damage of peas that pass through it. Fireballs deal damage to nearby zombies on impact. Everybody likes and respects Torchwood. They like him for his integrity, for his steadfast friendship, for his ability to greatly maximize P damage, but Torchwood has a secret. He can't read. Costs 175 sun and recharges fast. Here's the thing. If Torchwood is paired up with repeaters, then it's a 4 for great. But if it's paired up with Gatling Peas, then it's a 5. I don't really use Torchwood all that much, but of course it did help be alongside repeaters in Last Stand, so that's definitely a big boon towards it. I will say it's kind of pricey for what it does, but nevertheless Torchwood does its job, and it does its job pretty good. So I would say in most cases it's a 4. So going into the last of the pool, plants, we have tall nut. Tall nuts are heavy-duty walls that cannot be vaulted over. Toughness very high. Special can't be vaulted or jumped over. People wonder if there's a rivalry between Walnut and Tallnut. Tallnut laughs a rich, baritone laugh. How could there be anything between us? We are brothers. If you knew what Walnut has done for me. Tallnut's voice trails off and smiles knowingly. Costs 125 sun and recharges slow. Alright. Tallnut is getting a 5. Just put it simply, it is a fantastic wall. It stops the zombies for a great deal of time. Pair alongside it with a pumpkin and you got yourself a ridiculous wall. Only something like a catapult zombie, a zomboni, or a gargantuar could just smash or squish. Other than that, Tallnut is just a fantastic wall. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about Tallnut. Alright, Sea Shroom. Sea Shrooms are aquatic plants that shoot short-range spores, just like puff shrooms. Damage normal, range short. Must be planted on water, sleeps during the day. Sea Shroom has never seen the sea. It's his name. He's heard loads about it. But he's just never found the time. One day, though, it'll go down. Costs 0 sun and recharges slow. It's good in the fog levels, I will admit. So I will be generous and give it a 3.5 because it is quite neat for being a free plant in the water for the fog levels. So yeah, I'm being generous with this one because, well, I can't deny its application in the fog levels. It's great. Alright, Plantern. Planterns light up an area, letting you see through fog, indefinitely while it's in the lawn. Range, 1 lane. Wrong! It actually covers up like half of the lawn if you put it in the correct spot. Special lets you see through fog. Planter defies science. He just does. Other plants eat light and excrete oxygen. Plantern eats darkness and excretes light. Plantern's cagey about how he does it. I'm not gonna say sorcery. I wouldn't use the term dark forces, I think I've said enough. Costs 25 sun and recharges slow. I actually quite like the Plantern. Unlike Multi-Classic Gamer, I actually do see this as pretty useful because, for one thing, it sticks around unlike Blover, and you don't have to keep spamming the damn thing. It's pretty cheap too, and if you have a pumpkin to protect Plantern, or maybe even like a tall nut in front of it, that's even better. If you take care of Plantern will definitely serve you well in the long run, and you won't have to spam it unlike the Blover, which sucks. And I'll get to that pretty soon. So yeah, it's a 4. 4, great. I think it does a great job at dealing with the fog. It doesn't deal with the balloon zombies, unlike the Blover, but I still think it does a better job at getting rid of the fog. Alright, Cactus. Cacti shoot spikes that can hit both ground and air targets. Damage normal, range ground and air. She's pretty sure, but Cactus's spikes belie a spongy heart, filled with love and goodwill. She just wants to hug and be hugged. Most folks can't hang with that though, but Cactus doesn't mind. She's been seeing an armadillo for a while, and it really seems to be working out. Well, that seems to be an interesting relationship. Costs 125 sun and recharges fast. Alright, I'm going to say this is a good plan. 3.5. It does take care of the balloon zombies, I will acknowledge that, and it is the better of the two options when it comes to dealing with balloon zombies, if you're not including the cattail. And the obvious worst one of the two is Blover, because it doesn't stick around. Blover blows away all balloon zombies in fog. Single use, instant, special blows away all balloon zombies. When Blover was 5, he got a shiny new birthday cake. Blover made his wish, huffed and puffed, but he was able to extinguish only 60% of the candles. Instead of giving up though, he used that early defeat as a catalyst to push himself harder ever since. Costs 100 sun and recharges fast. As cute as a backstory that Blover has, it makes him want to push himself. I cannot praise the Blover for his work. Yes, I did have to use the Blover for the survival hard stuff. I did have to resort to that. However, that was resorting to. That doesn't mean that this thing is good in the slightest. So, I'm going to discredit that and not have that affect this rating. Blover is the first plant of this thing to get a fucking 1. Yep, it's completely outclassed separately by both the Plantern and Cactus. Like, individually those two just do a better job than Blover does. And you don't have to keep spamming them, unlike the Blover where you have to keep spamming this thing in order for it to bear results. So yeah, Blover blows. Split Pea. Split Peas shoot peas forwards and backwards. Damage normal, range forward and backwards. Firing speed 1 times forward, 2 times backwards. Yeah, I'm a Gemini, says Split Pea. I know, big surprise, but having 2 heads, or really 1 head with a large head-like growth on the back, pays off big in my line of work. Costs 125 sun and recharges fast. Alrighty, it's a bit of an awkward plant, but I do have to give it credit for being really useful for dealing with digger zombies and also being useful in Pogo Party. Those are really the 2 biggest things I could say about Split Pea that are actually positives. The cost is a little bit cumbersome, but it is admittedly a bit of a nifty plant, and therefore I'm going to give it the good rating. So yeah, I'm being a little bit generous. Anyway, here's Starfruit. Starfruit shoots stars in 5 different directions. Damage normal, range 5 different directions. Aw man, says Starfruit. I went to the dentist the other day and he said I have 4 cavities. I've got, count it, 1, 2, 4 cavities in 1 tooth. How does this happen? Costs 125 sun and recharges fast. I actually quite like Starfruit. I'm not a Starfruit lover, but I definitely do see the uses of Starfruit, and I'm going to be generous and give it a 3.5. It's very useful in Pogo Party, and it has applications in other areas of this game, so make it as you will. I sit comfortably mostly in the middle when it comes to just... I'm probably going to be berated by both sides of the spectrum, where a lot of people hate Starfruit, and there are people who just absolutely adore Starfruit for its uses. I'm kind of in the middle of the camp. But yeah, I do see the legitimate practical uses that Starfruit has. It can shoot backwards, it does well in crowd control, although not the most efficient at doing so. It does do certain things that other plants tend to fail at. So, in that aspect, it does have a unique role when it comes to this game, so Starfruit, you totally deserve a 3.5. You deserve that good rating in my eyes. And I feel like it won't piss off too many people. Pumpkin. Pumpkins protect plants that are within their shells. Toughness high. Special, can be planted over another plant. Pumpkin hasn't heard from his cousin Renfield lately. Apparently Renfield's a big star, some kind of, what was it? Sports hero? Peggle master? Pumpkin doesn't really get it, he just does his job. Yeah, they just outright reference their own other property in this. Peggle. PopCap, you cheeky bastards. Yeah, Peggle's a pretty fun game, I will admit. Costs 125 sun and recharges slow. I'm giving the pumpkin a 5 outright. It's an awesome plant. Yeah, there's really no need for explanation here. Like, pumpkin is really fucking good. Alright, Magnet Shroom. Magnet Shrooms remove helmets and other metal objects from zombies. Range, nearby zombies. Special, removes metal objects from zombies. Sleeps during the day. Magnetism is a powerful force. Very powerful. Sometimes it scares Magnet Shroom a little. He's not sure if he can handle that kind of responsibility. Costs 100 sun and recharges fast. Alright, originally I was going to put this as a 3.5 for good, but after the work that Magnet Shroom did with the survival stuff, I gotta give it a 4 at least. Magnet Shroom is proof in the pudding that strength in numbers is a really good thing, and one Magnet Shroom doesn't really do it for a lot of things. It's better to have multiple Magnet Shrooms, and yeah, that worked out really well for me when it came to the survival stuff, so Magnet Shroom, you really proved yourself to be useful within those bits. I may have not used you so much, but yeah, you've definitely proven yourself to be quite of a force to be reckoned with. So for that, I thank you, Magnet Shroom. You exceeded my expectations. Alright, Cabbage Pult. Cabbage Pult hurls cabbages at the enemy. Damage, normal. Range, lobbed. Which is basically just like an arc. Cabbage Pult is okay with launching cabbages at zombies. It's what he's paid for, after all. And he's good at it. He just doesn't understand how zombies get up onto the roof in the first place. Yeah, they probably used huge-ass ladders or something like that. But anyway, costs 100 sun, it recharges fast. This is basically a pea shooter on the roof, and for the time that it actually is your main attacking plant on the roof, it's quite good. I'll be generous and give it a 3.5 out of whatever. It's a good plant. Flower Pot. Flower Pot lets you plant plants on the roof. Special allows you to plant a plant on the roof. I'm a pot for planting, yet I'm also a plant. Has your mind exploded yet? Costs 25 sun and it recharges fast. Yeah, obvious 5. It's basically the same case as Lily Pad. Really no need for further explanation on that front. Kernel Pult. Kernel Pults fling corn kernels and butter at the zombies. Damage light, kernel, normal, butter. Range lobbed. Special, butter immobilizes zombies for a few seconds. Colonel Pult is the eldest of the Pult brothers. Out of the 3 of them, Colonel is the only one who consistently remembers the others' birthdays. He bugs them about it a little too. Costs 100 sun and recharges fast. Alright. I'm giving this thing a 4 for the butter. The butter aspect about Colonel Pult is what makes it great. And yeah, it's just something that not many other plants can have. It's quite a bit little niche that Colonel Pult does, that it actually affects the gameplay rather nicely in your favor. So yeah, it's a great plant. Coffee Bean. Coffee beans wake up sleeping mushrooms. Usage, single use, instant. Special, can be planted over another plant. Wakes up mushrooms. Hey guys, hey, says Coffee Bean. Hey, what's up? Who's that? Hey, did you see that thing? What thing? Whoa, lions! Yep, Coffee Bean sure does get excited. Costs 75 sun, it recharges fast. Well, it's not something I typically use, like, at all, but I'm not going to say that's mediocre on that front. I'm going to be nice and give it a meh 3. For anything outside of the Gloom Shroom, which maybe it's a 3.5, but yeah, Coffee Bean is just kind of eh. It's definitely okay if you want to use mushrooms during the day, but you'll definitely probably only want to use like Magnet Shroom for that, which I ended up doing a couple times. So yeah, 3. Garlic. Garlic diverts zombies into other lanes. Usage on contact. Special diverts zombies into other lanes. Lane diversion isn't just Garlic's profession, it's his passion. He carries an advanced doctorate in redirection from the Brussels University. He'll talk all day about lane vectors and repulse arrays. He even pushes things into alternate avenues at home. Somehow his wife puts up with it. Costs 50 sun and recharges fast. It's like meh. It's 3. It does have weaknesses in the fact that it could be squashed and, you know, vaulted over. So it only like diverts zombies that can like eat plants into other lanes. I mean, on that front, it's decent at its job. It just doesn't do like a spectacular job in my opinion, unless you're doing the Wario setup, which you'll know why it's called the Wario setup, because, you know, garlic. Yeah, other than that, it's a meh. Oh boy, and this is probably where I'm going to get a lot of flack. Besides the blower bit, Umbrella Leaf. Umbrella Leaves protect nearby plants from bungee and catapults. Special protects adjacent plants from bungees and catapults. Sproing, says Umbrella Leaf. Did you like that? I can do it again. Sproing. Woo! That's me popping up to protect stuff around me. Yeah, just like that. Exactly like that. Believe it. Costs 100 sun, it recharges fast. I have already gone over the reason why I don't really like Umbrella Leaf. It cuts down on your offense, and yeah, you can just go all out. I won't lie that the bungee zombies actually destroy me within survival roof hard, but unless if you're doing that, Umbrella Leaf isn't really necessary. And I would say it's kind of more or less like a disadvantageous kind of thing for you, because you're not doing as much damage to the zombies as you could be doing with stuff like what we're going to be going to soon. So yeah, I'm going to say that it is, well, I'm not going to say that it's useless, but it's mediocre. I'm giving it a 2. Yeah, I know people are going to disagree with me, but you know what, we all have our own opinions. So deal with it. Marigold. Marigolds give you silver and gold coins, not even diamonds. And yes, I'm still complaining about that. Special gives coins. Marigold spends a lot of time deciding whether to spit out a silver coin or a gold coin. She thinks about it, weighs the angles. She does solid research and keeps up with the current publications. That's how winners stay ahead. Costs 50 sun and recharges slow. Outside the rich setup, Marigold is completely fucking useless, so in most cases, Marigold is getting a fucking 1. But with the rich setup as its one saving grace, I'm giving it a 2. Honestly, that's only because of that rich setup. If that was not possible in this game, Marigold would just be the most fucking useless plant in the entire game. And yeah, it just gives you money, which you could already get easily. Anyway, here's something I'm sure it's going to be pretty obvious at this point. Melon Pult. Melon Pults do heavy damage to groups of zombies. Does heavy damage, the range is lobbed. Special melons damage nearby enemies on impact. There's no false modesty with Melon Pult. Sun for damage? I deliver the biggest punch on the lawn, he says. I'm not bragging. Run the numbers, you'll see. Costs 300 sun, it recharges fast. Alright, so unlike the 3-peater, I would say this is actually a good investment of your sun. because it does heavy damage and it does splash damage to zombies on other lanes on top of that. Basically, this is one of the best non-upgrade plants in the entire game, and so therefore I have to give it a 5. I'm very much obligated to give it that. I mean, come on, it's Melonpolt. Everybody loves Melonpolt. He's everybody's best boy. It's your boy Melonpolt. You saw me like over-rely on the Melonpolts through all this shit in the aftergame, and for good reason. Alrighty, Gatling Pea. Gatling Peas shoot 4 peas at a time. Damage, normal for each pea. Firing speed, 4 times. Yeah, as if you haven't figured that out, just from Zombotany 2 alone. Those things were quite destructive. Must be planted on repeaters. Gatling Pea's parents were concerned when he announced his intention to join the military. But honey, it's so dangerous, they said in unison. Gatling Pea refused to budge. Life is dangerous, he replied, eyes glinting with steely conviction. Costs 250 sun, recharges very slow. Now, if it's just the Gatling Pea by itself, then it's a 5. It's quite destructive on its own, but it's not broken on its own. But combined with Torchwood, it's a 6. Plain and simple. Twin Sunflower. Twin Sunflowers give you twice as much sun as a normal sunflower. Sun production, double. Must be planted on sunflowers. It was a crazed night of forbidden science that brought Twin Sunflower to existence. Thunder crashed overhead. Strange lights flickered. Even the very roaring wind seemed to hiss its angry denial. But to no avail. Twin Sunflower was alive. Alive! Costs 150 sun and recharges very slow. This right here is basically the most fucking broken plant in the entire game. Yep, I just went there. Twin Sunflower is the most broken plant in the entire game. Only costing 150 sun, and it gives back way more than it has any right to, considering that base cost. Yeah, it's like, they should have made this thing like twice as expensive to balance out how much it gives back to you. But I digress. Twin Sunflower is fucking broken, so it's a 6. Plain and simple. It's, in my opinion, at least the most broken plant in the entire game, and for good reason. Gloom Shroom. Gloom Shrooms release heavy fumes in an area around themselves. Must be planted on fume shrooms. I've always enjoyed releasing heavy fumes, says Gloom Shroom. I know a lot of people aren't cool with that. They say it's rude or that it smells horrid. All I can say is, would you rather have your brain eaten by zombies? Costs 150 sun and recharges very slow. Now, I'm just going to say for the record this is one of the weaker upgrade plants in the game. If I consider the rich setup, it is a 5. However, in most cases, it's a 4, because its range is extremely short. But it also does do a lot of damage. Also, it's a mushroom, so limited use. So I think my rating of 4 is only fair. It's still great, it's just not one of the better upgrade plants, in my opinion. Cattail. Cattails can attack any lane and shoot down balloon zombies too. Must be planted on lily pads. Woof, says Cattail. Woof, woof, woof. Does this confuse you? Do you expect me to say meow like a cat just because the word cat is in my name and I also look like a cat? That's not how things work around here. I refuse to be pigeonholed. Costs 225 sun and recharges very slow. Cattail definitely has its uses. I would say it's also 4. But again, that AI, as I keep saying, like, it's weird. But thankfully, I have figured out, like, within the use of this thing in the survival stuff, I have discovered that this thing does prioritize in targeting balloon zombies, so that's good. So it at least does its job pretty well for taking out balloon zombies, and in that case, it's probably the best balloon zombie dealer in the entire game. But the problem is you can't use this thing in day, night, or roof levels. So yeah, its uses are limited, and therefore, I can only rank it so high. Considering that, and well, it's AI. Wintermelon. Wintermelons do heavy damage and slow groups of zombies. Damage very heavy, yes. I wasn't kidding when I said that this thing does heavy damage. Range lobbed. Firing speed halved. What? No. As far as I see it, its firing speed is the exact same as a normal melon bolt. Don't just ignore the halved firing speed, because as far as I've seen it, it lobs melons at the same exact rate as normal melon bolts, which in that aspect it actually makes this thing pretty broken. Melons damage and freeze zombies nearby on impact. So again, the splash damage is real, must be planted on melon bolts. Wintermelon tries to calm his nerves. He hears the zombies approach. Will he make it? Will anyone make it? Cost 200 sun, recharges very slow. I have already gone over how awesome this thing is. This is getting a 6. In my opinion, Wintermelon is the second most broken plant in the entire game. Only costing 200 sun for what it does is insane. Does more damage than a regular melon bolt, freezes zombies on top of that, and yeah, this thing is just beyond incredible. Like, I can't praise it enough. It's just wow, dude. Gold Magnet. Gold magnets collect coins and diamonds for you. Must be planted on magnet shrooms. How did I end up here? Asked Gold Magnet. I was on the fast track, corner office, full benefits, stock options. I was going to be vice president of Midwestern operations. Now I'm here on this lawn in serious danger of being eaten to death. Ooh, a coin. Costs 50 sun and recharges very slowly. This is easily the weakest upgrade plant in the entire game. It does something completely different to what the Magnet Shroom does, and it only picks up coins and diamonds. Basically, if you're not taking the rich setup into consideration, then this thing's a 1 outright. Because unless if you're really fucking lazy, then you do not need this thing in the slightest. However, if you do consider the rich setup, then it's at least a meh. I'm going to be nice to the Gold Magnet when it comes to that, but in any other circumstance, it's a fucking 1. Why even if you're not going to use the rich setup? Spike Rock. Spike Rocks pop multiple tires and damage zombies that walk over it. Actually, it does like twice as much damage as Spike Weeds. Spike Rock just got back from a trip to Europe. He had a great time, met some wonderful people, really broadened his horizons. He never knew they made museums so big, or put so many paintings in them. That was a big surprise for him. Costs 125 sun and recharges very slow. Spike Rock, I am going to give a 5. Even though I have never used this thing in the Let's Play, its uses should not be understated. This thing can stall out a fucking Gargantuar. No, I'm not kidding. Like, this thing can live through quite a number of smashes from the Gargantuar and still damage it on top of that. So yeah, stalling out a Gargantuar in itself is a big-ass boon. And then it just fucking keeps away all the zombonis, all the catapult zombies. However, it has to be planted on a lawn tile. It can't be on a lily pad or flower pot, so its uses are limited somewhat when it comes to that. But still, the niche that this thing provides is an incredible one. It should not be understated. It's fairly cheap for how much it does too, so hence why it's getting a 5. Cobkin. Click on the Cobkin, right click, to launch a deadly cob of corn. Must be planted on 2 side-by-side kernel bolts. What's the deal with Cobb Cannon anyway? He went to Harvard. He practices law in the prestigious New York firm. He can explode whole areas of zombies with a single corn launch. All this is common knowledge, but deep inside, what really makes him tick? Costs whopping 500 sun, and recharges very slowly. Now, normally for something that gives you, like, essentially free cherry bombs would automatically be at least a 5. I have to point out the Cobb Cannon's obvious weaknesses. It can't be covered by a pumpkin, it's twice as big as a normal plant, it can be eaten just like any normal plant, and that 500 sun cost is very steep, and you really need to build your defenses around Cobb Cannon for it to be effective. So because of all these circumstances, I have to give it a 4. If it just didn't have so many damning flaws, Cobb Cannon could have been a 5, hell, maybe even a 6. But in my eyes, Cobb Cannon just has too many weaknesses to justify using it in a meaningful manner, and therefore you really have to plan out your defenses around it in order to use it correctly and efficiently, so yeah, I'm giving it a 4 for that reason. Imitator. Imitators let you use 2 of the same plant during a level. I remember the zombie wars back in 76, says Imitator in an old raspy old man's voice. Back then, we didn't have all those fancy pea shooters and jalapenuses. All we had was guts. Guts in a spoon. And the cost and recharge time of the Imitator depends on whatever non-upgrade plant you chose for the level. So in that aspect, being able to duplicate one of the best plants in the entire game for a level, this thing has to get a 5 for awesome, because being able to duplicate pumpkins is a fucking boon, and it's one of the best things you could do in this game. Imitator is just that useful for that reason alone. It could duplicate itself into being a tall nut. It could be anything that is really useful. Imitator just has that level of flexibility. I don't think it's broken. I just think it's really cool. So yeah, 5 for amazing. Alright, and that's all the plants for the Suburban Almanac. So guys, that's pretty much the end of the bonus episode. So overall, I would say the plant roster is good, but there's obviously bits of imbalance here and there. Like, there are some plants that are just like outright bad, and other plants that are just way too good for their own good, such as the twin sunflowers and winter melons. But overall, the balance seems to be pretty good in my eyes when it comes to the non-upgrade plants. A lot of them, from what we have seen here, I gave them a 3.5, so that fell into my kind of expectation as to the plants falling into. So that's a good prediction I made. And a couple plants actually did exceed my expectations through via this Let's Play. So that did increase their rating a little bit, such as the case of the Ice Shroom and the Magnet Shroom. I know I did have some unpopular opinions, or maybe even I'm just jumping on hateable bandwagons, such as loving the Melon Pult, but I don't really care. I have my own opinions, and I think they're justified enough as long as I gave out good reasons for either loving a plant or hating it. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So that has been the bonus episode of Plants vs. Zombies, and yeah, but wait, isn't there something I forgot? Anything? Oh yeah! By the way, that bit was actually planned out, like, the whole forgotten thing, like, I didn't forget. I purposely saved this for the end. But basically, in your second go in adventure mode, when you do get to level 4-10, you will encounter a secret zombie here. If I could just go into the achievements. It says discover the Yeti zombie in the form of an achievement. Now, the Yeti zombie is a zombie that you could only encounter within your second playthrough of Adventure Mode and onwards. And he only appears in level 4-10, where he'll be around for a little bit of time before he becomes scared and runs away. The thing is, you want to kill the Yeti zombie before it has a chance to run away, because he drops diamonds. And in case if you're wondering about his toughness, the Yeti zombie has the toughness of a bucket head. So, it is a bit beefier than a lot of other normal zombies, so it could be a bit difficult to take down, given the plants that you're using in 4-10, but it's not impossible by any means. And if you do manage to kill the Yeti zombie, then you'll be handsomely rewarded with diamonds, and yeah. Other than that, that's really all I have to say. You have the rest of the achievements. There's one for getting a golden sunflower trophy, which unfortunately I won't be able to get within the context of this because I'm already finished with the Let's Play. But really, that's it for the entirety of the Let's Play. The main episodes, the finale, and the bonus episode. So, I'm completely finished, and I'll see you guys for whatever Let's Plays I happen to do in the future. See you guys then. Take care.